Here we're going to install the GrassFlap onto a John Deere 7-iron style deck. First thing we're going to do is install the mount, which goes to the existing holes on the rib. We're going to use the 5/16 carriage bolt provided and connect that angle to the rib itself. When you put the rib on, or when you put the angle on, the angle goes on the back side or the inside of the rib, and the nuts go on the outside towards the discharge opening. Now we've got the angle in place, then we're going to go ahead and put the GrassFlap itself on. So we'll set it up on the mower deck, line it up with the holes in the angle mount. Go ahead and use our 3/8 carriage bolts here to secure the GrassFlap to the angle mount itself. So as we tighten the bolts here, what we want to do is make sure that the locker plate itself is against the discharge opening. So we can go ahead and use your knee and hold it against there and snug up the two bolts. Now we're going to go ahead and position the spring mount. So the first thing we have to do is remove this nut and bolt. We're just going to start this on loosely. And we will finish tightening this when we install the cable. From there, we're going to go over to the pedal installation. So what we've got here, we're showing the cable routing that you're going to end up with on the mower. You can see where it goes over and connects to the flap itself when we're all done. Next thing we want to do is go ahead and connect our cable, and the cable is roughly laid in place where we want it to go. First thing we have to do is go ahead and remove jam nut number 1. So we're going to go ahead and spin that one off. And we also want to make sure that jam nut number 2 is mostly all the way back on the threaded fitting. Our spring is going to be disconnected, so we'll take that off now. So we're going to lift this pedal up out of our way, put the wire in first, and then I usually just get the fittings started in a little bit so I can still reach in here and get the nut started. So you're going to want to get the nut started and put it on maybe a 1/4 inch or so, not too far on, because the other thing that you have to do is you have to get this rubber boot and shove it back in place onto the end of the cable. So it takes a pretty good push there, but you can get it seated back on. Okay, now once that's done, then we'll go ahead and spin the nut in the rest of the way. I'm going to just snug it up for right now. We'll have to remember to come back and tighten that up with a 1/2 inch wrench in a moment. Okay, now next thing we need to do is we need to take our clevis. We're going to slip our clevis onto the end of the wire. Once it's in place, then we're going to go ahead and put our 1/4 inch pin in on this end. And get that clevis in place. I'm going to go ahead and hook this spring to get it out of my way. It goes into this little catch right here. We're going to put our cotter pin in. Wrap the cotter pin all the way around. Here we're going to go ahead and mount the pedal to the mower deck itself. To do this, we've got large washers that we're going to put onto the bottom side. There'll be black washers in the kit. So we'll slip the carriage bolt through from the top. It should be 1.5 by 5/16 carriage bolt. You'll slip the large black washer onto the bottom side and then start the nut onto that bottom side. You want to be sure that when you get ready to do this that you already have the cable connected to the pedal so that you can slide the cable through the next square hole past where you're bolting the pedal on. If you notice here in the picture, we've got the pedal located in the center of the mower deck or the foot deck, and then that cable drops through that next hole. Now we're ready to go ahead and connect the cable to the spring mounts. First thing we're going to do is pull this rubber boot off. We're going to spin jam nut number 1 all the way off. Jam nut number 2 is going to go about halfway. Slip the wire into the slot and put the fitting in place. And then put jam nut number 1 back on. You can finger tighten this, will be fine. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten up this bolt that positions our spring mount now that we've got our cable laying here in the direction we want it. Go ahead and connect to the spring mount. So open loop goes to the top. It's going to connect here onto the spring bolt. She's using a small pair of channel locks or something similar. I'm going to go ahead and pull, hook this on. Spring should be all the way out to the end of this bolt. And then if you notice when you open and close, the spring does rub the head of this bolt, which is supposed to do that. And this allows the whole flap here to shift toward the back of the mower. We're ready then to install the cable itself to the mount. So we're going to take our remaining hardware. You should have left a little bronze bushing, a 3/16 pin and a cotter pin. So the 3/16 bushing slips into this hole. The clevis itself goes over that bushing. And then when you install this 3/16 pin, you want to make sure the head of the 3/16 pin is on the same side as the spring. So using your left hand, insert the pin in through the bronze bushing. Position your cotter pin. You want to go ahead and bend your cotter pin all the way over. Once you have the cable connected on the flap end, then you want to go ahead and snug the jam nuts on the cable fitting itself. You don't have to over tighten these, and go ahead and make sure that the rubber boot is back in place where it belongs. And then do the same procedure over on the pedal end. Snug the jam nuts and to verify the boot is in place. The next step then is to go ahead and bend the end of the flap itself to where it matches the bend at the back end of the discharge opening. So depending on which mower deck you're putting this on, that degree of bend is going to change a little bit. You may also need to adjust the flap forward or back, depending on where you've got it located.